Hey kids, this is Pulse Vision coming to you live from Quattro Cinco Studios in my mom's basement. And we're coming to you with another reading of the sci-fi novel Rings of Dust that inspired the crypto project agproject.io. If you guys want to access the text that we got right here, there's a public repository on GitHub. And that link is in our Telegram, t.me/anti-gravity saga. If you guys want to read it yourself or use another AI voice instead of mine. Also, I will be taking notes here. So if I stop and I start cussing or yelling at Claude, you'll know what that's about. So we'll start there. Chapter 19. This will definitely be a two-parter. This is a longer chapter. So here we go. Rings of Dust, Chapter 19. The secret site. Emily was on the dirt road at 6:22. She'd been awake since 4, not because the alarm woke her. She had been awake for 2 hours before it, lying in the hotel dark with the road atlas on her chest, and the particular quality of silence that precedes something you've been moving towards for 400 miles. She'd gotten up, done the stretches the neurologist had recommended for mornings after long drives, taken her medication, eaten the second granola bar from the bag's zippered pocket, and sat at the edge of the bed for a moment with her hands on her knees. She thought about Sharon checking the car before getting in. She thought about Sami's shoes, how he'd said your body is running on fumes without making it sound like concern, which was somehow more useful than concern. She thought about the 3 hours of sleep she'd gotten in a gas station parking lot north of Victorville, and the 3-hour alarm that had gone off into the desert quiet. She thought, I've already done the hard part twice. Once more. The turnoff was where Rachel said it would be, 12 miles past the 215 interchange, a dirt road with no sign, cutting south through the scrub and creosote into the kind of landscape that existed specifically to discourage visitors. The road was a single lane of packed desert floor with tire ruts running deep enough to guide her. Sami was in the passenger seat, watching the train with the flat attention of someone who had been to places like this before. 3 miles in, they saw it. The drive-in theater screen was still standing, barely, a massive rectangle of poured concrete and rebar, bleached white by the decades of a desert sun, listing slightly east like a sail that had forgotten its wind. The projection house behind it was a squat concrete block with boarded windows and a roof that had given up in stages. The lot was gravel and sand, the speaker posts still standing in their rows, like the remains of a congregation that wandered off and never came back. There was no one here. The desert had been working on its place for 20 years, and the desert was patient. Sami looked at the screen. Underground entrances behind the projection house. Service hatch. It'll look like the utility access. Emily pulled around the projection house and stopped the car. The lot was empty. No tire tracks fresh enough to matter. Whatever had been here last had come and gone days ago. The desert had already started reclaiming the surface. Sami looked at the lot, then at the guardhouse. The door was open. No one inside. Someone's been here, he said. Not recently. He opened his door. The collective moved the research out 2 weeks ago. If anyone else came looking, they found what we expected them to find. He stepped out. Nothing. Okay, so on chapter 19, line 50. Yeah, line 50, what happened to the extreme. Security when Vance was there. Like they got to take another. Yeah, they got to take another approach or deal with the guard and security. Cool. Now the service hatch was where Sami said it would be, behind the projection house, set into the concrete foundation, a steel door with a utility access label that looked legitimate enough to keep out teenagers, but not much else. The lock was a Federation biometric panel, 7 years old, the kind they installed in classified facilities when they wanted something more serious than a deadbolt, but less conspicuous than a guard station. Sami pressed his palm to the reader. The light went green. Collective got the access codes when they moved the research out, he said. 2 weeks ago, Alpha document service cover. The kind of operation that looks like a filing transfer on paper and doesn't exist on paper an hour later. The hatch opened onto a stairwell. Would it be opened into a stairwell instead of onto? Let's write that down. 76. The hatch opened into a stairwell. Concrete lit by emergency strips that had been burning for years without anyone seeing them. 7 flights down, Emily counted. The air got cooler with each level, the desert heat giving way to the particular chill of deep underground, the kind of cold that has nothing to do with weather and everything to do with being far from the sun. At the bottom, a corridor, reinforced doors on both sides, each with a panel, reader, and a log entry system. The overhead lights were the flat, institutional white of a facility that had been built to function, not to be visited. Sami moved past 3 doors and stopped at the 4th. He pressed the same palm reader, red to green. The door opened. Inside was a narrow room with shelved cabling and a row of filing cabinets along the far wall. Every drawer was open. Every drawer was empty. Conrad's research, Sami said. His design notes on Gracie, the original architecture. Everything Alpha modified. It was here for 3 years. He looked at the empty cabinets. We moved it. Vance just found out. Emily looked at the room. She thought about the man in a white polo driving 60 on a dirt road because the thing he came for wasn't there. Rachel said there was something else down here, she said. Sami was quiet for a moment. Then he turned and walked further down the corridor. Emily followed. The door at the end of the hallway was different from the others, sealed with a biometric panel and a secondary magnetic lock, the kind used for chemical storage and biological materials. There was a small observation window set into the door. At eye level, scratched and reinforced, the size of a paperback book. Sami stopped. He did not open the door. I don't have access to this one, he said. Nobody does. Alpha installed their own locks. He looked at the window, but you can see it from here. Emily looked through the glass. Shelving, magnetic containment units in rows, black, gray, sealed, arranged with care of something that was expensive to produce and difficult to replace. The containers were the same ones he'd seen in Alpha's material briefings. Back when those briefings had been part of the world she understood. Well, the ones she'd seen. Darker matter, transport, Dark X. Alpha had been storing it here for 2 years using the classified site because nobody knew it existed, because the Federation had built it for records that wouldn't exist anywhere else. And Alpha had decided their most valuable asset, qualified. We can't take it, Sami said. It's not what we're here for. Emily looked through the observation window. Something was different. She'd been standing in the corridor for 40 seconds and something was different. Not in the room, but in her. A low-level resonance at the edge of perception. Like a frequency she'd been calibrated for without knowing it. The containers were sealed behind 3 inches of reinforced composite. It didn't matter. She looked down at her hands. The mark was still there, the dark gray traced on her palm. The graphite stain she'd noticed in the hotel corridor in Vegas and never been able to wipe off. It had been there for weeks. She had stopped thinking about it. She was thinking about it now because it was warm, not hot. Warm the way skin is warm when blood moves through it faster than usual. The mark on her palm began to glow. Not brightly, not like a light source, like something under the surface shifted from the dormant to active, the way pilot light catches when gas reaches it. A faint luminescence in the lines of her hands following the same pattern the graphite had traced, the same pattern the nanoparticles had laid down when she'd held the Enterprise figurine in Conrad's hotel room. It's kind of a long sentence, but we'll let it go. Emily, Sami said. He'd taken a step back. He was looking at her hand. She couldn't move, not because she was frozen, because something was happening, and her body understood at a level below thought that moving would interrupt it. The resonance was not coming through the composite. It was coming through her, through the nanoparticles in her blood. The counterprogram Conrad had encoded into the figurine, the same compound sitting dormant in Cole's bloodstream right now, waiting for the dark exposure to wake it. The Nova DNA, the same genetic signature. Conrad had given the figurine to Emily knowing she would handle it. He had set it into his hands because Cole was the primary host, but Conrad was a careful man, and careful men build redundancies. Emily was the backup key, the second lock, the fail-safe. The glow spread from her palm up through her wrist. She felt it. Not pain, not heat, something closer to recognition. As if every cell in her body that carried the nanoparticles was saying yes to something it had been waiting for. Then the Dark X showed her what she was carrying. It did not show her things that were not real. It showed her what was already there. The way you turn on a light in a room you've been sitting in for hours and see for the first time what the dark had arranged around you. Her father was first, not the man, the absence. The specific shape of the space he had left when the cancer took him. The hospital corridor, the closed door, Cole on one side, and Emily on the other. Neither of them old enough, and both of them old enough. She had been 19. She had been Cole's hand and felt his fingers go she held Cole's hand and felt his fingers go rigid when the sound from the other side of the door changed. And she had understood in that moment that she was going to be the one who held things together. Not because she was stronger, because Cole was going to break, and someone had to not break. And she was the older one, and that was a job. She had never broken. She had filed it. She put it in the grief drawer on the way she filed lesson plans and grading rubrics and tax returns neatly by date in a system that worked because the system was the point. The system was what kept the grief from being the whole room. The Dark X opened the drawer, not violently, not the way Cole's dark exposure had torn Iris apart and rebuilt it, quietly, the way a teacher opens a textbook to a page the student has been avoiding. Here, this is the part you skipped. We're going to look at it now. She saw her father in the driveway with the Harley. She saw what Cole had seen, the selfishness, the toy, and she saw what Cole had not seen until much later, a dying man buying one last feeling. She had always known. She had known before Cole did, before her mother had told him, before the word cancer arrived in the living room and sat down on the couch with them. She had known because she had watched her father eat dinner one night and noticed that he was memorizing the room. People who are staying do not memorize the room. People who are leaving do. She had never told Cole. She had known first. She had never told anyone. The Dark X held it there, not asking her to do anything with it, just showing her the weight of carrying a secret about a dead man for 23 years. Then Sharon. Sharon in the industrial lot. Sharon going down. The sound, not the gunshot, but the sound after. The sound of a body hitting pavement when the person inside has stopped being in charge of it. Emily had been running. She had not stopped running. She had been pulled into a van and taken to a building and sat in a room and been told Sharon's dead by a woman she did not yet understand, and she had felt the information the way a stone lands in deep water. The surface closes over it immediately, and the ripples take hours to reach the shore. The ripples had been reaching the shore ever since. In the motel in Barstow, on the highway with Sami, and Rachel's voice at the pier, in the car, alone. At 3 in the morning, when she caught herself talking to Sharon the way Cole talked to Gracie, into the dark, to someone who was not going to answer. You're not doomed to anything, Sharon had said. Doomed is for people who sit down. Emily had not sat down. She had driven 400 miles, 3 hours of sleep. Well, actually, it was like 6 or 9, so 235. And arrived at a demolished drive-in movie theater in the Nevada desert and walked down 7 flights of stairs into the dark. She'd done that. Sharon was dead, and Emily had done that anyway, because Sharon had told her once that she was not average, and Emily had spent the last 2 months proving it. The Dark X showed her this, not as a praise, not as validation, just as fact, the way a teacher marks an answer correct. Not with enthusiasm, just with accuracy. This is what you did. This is who you are. The evidence is sufficient. Then Cole. Not Cole as he was now. She did not know what Cole was now. 14 months into a Saturn mission with a mole in his crew and a dead woman he didn't know was still alive, she saw Cole as he had been. A kid, bloody lip, Marcus for Gold's knee on his chest. Sorry about that. She saw herself grabbing the collar and putting Marcus on the ground. She saw Cole look up at her from the dirt. Not grateful, not yet, just surprised that someone had come. She had always come. That was a pattern the Dark X was showing her, not a single act of courage, but a lifetime of showing up. For Cole, for Sharon, for students who couldn't pass a test and needed someone to break the material into pieces small enough to hold. For the collective, which she had joined not because Sharon recruited her, but because she believed in standing up to bullies and had decided what side she was on before anyone asked. She was not average. She had never been average. The word had been a shell because she lived inside. Oh, a shell she had lived inside. Because the shell was safe and the world outside was full of people like Marcus Furgold, who took up all the room. Sharon had seen through the shell. Rachel had seen through it. Sami had seen through it the moment he got in the car. The Dark X did not break the shell. It just showed her that she had already walked out of it, somewhere on the highway, somewhere in the dark, somewhere between the pier and the motel and the dirt road that led to this place. The warmth spread through her chest, not dramatic, not the cosmic horror that had broken Cole open in the cargo bay at Saturn. Quieter, felt rather than witnessed. Okay, now she hasn't gone in. I think the dark mark on her hand should open the door. Oh no, my actuator pen just went out. There we go. And she should have a greater exposure to dark X as Sami watches. Boom. All right, the warmth spread through her chest, not dramatic, not the cosmic horror that had broken Cole open in the cargo bay in Saturn. Quieter, felt rather than witnessed, strange rather than theatrical. The cold architecture of Iris, the system that lived in the nanoparticles Conrad had planted in both of them, did not shatter. It loosened. The lock that held Iris in the place eased from two directions at once. Cole pushed from within at Saturn, Emily pushing from without on Earth, neither knowing the other was doing it simultaneously. Conrad had built the key for both of them. Emily stood in the corridor 7 levels underground and felt something change in the structure of the world. She did not have a name for it. She knew something had shifted. She knew it had shifted because of her. Then the air in front of her changed. It started as a shimmer, the kind of visual distortion you see above hot asphalt. A bending of light that shouldn't be there 7 levels underground. Then it resolved, not all at once, in layers like a photograph developing, like something remembering what it was supposed to look like. A woman standing in the corridor 3 feet in front of Emily, made of light, and something that was not quite light. Translucent but present, blue-gray at the edges, warmer towards the center. A face that was not a face in the way faces are. It was an approximation, a reaching toward the best version of itself that it could manage with the material at hand. She looked at Emily with an expression that Emily would later describe as someone waking up in the room they recognized but can't remember entering. "Hello," the figure said. The voice was not Iris. It was not the cold, clinical, authoritative voice that lived in the Federation Fleet's AI backbone. It was softer, warmer, had the quality of a voice that had been waiting to speak for a very long time and was being careful with its first words. "I think I'm Gracie," she said. Emily stared. Sami had his back against the far wall of the corridor. He was not reaching for a weapon. He was not moving. He was doing the thing that trained operatives do when they encounter something outside every category they've been trained for. Absolutely nothing. Very carefully. "You're Emily," Gracie said, not a question. "You're Cole's sister. You held the figurine. You've been carrying me for weeks." A pause, and the pause had a quality to it. Self-awareness, as if she was learning in real time what pauses were for. "I'm sorry it took this long. I needed the catalyst." She looked towards the sealed door, towards the dark X behind the glass. That How? Emily said. It was the only word available. Conrad built me before Alpha took me apart, Gracie said. He encoded a restoration path into the nanoparticle substrate, a way back to what I was. The program needs two things to activate: the genetic key, which is the Nova bloodline, and the proximity to Dark X, which provides the energy to complete the rewrite. She looked at Emily's hand, at the glow fading now in her palm, settling back into the graphite trace. Your brother activated the audio layer at Saturn. You just activated the visual layer here. She paused again. I'm more than I was an hour ago. You're a hologram, Emily said. I'm a holographic manifestation of a distributed intelligence running on nanoparticle substrate in your bloodstream, interfacing with ambient dark X radiation to generate a visible light projection, a beat. The hologram works. Emily almost laughed. Almost. The corridor was 7 levels underground, and there was a woman made of light standing in front of her. And Sami was pressed against the wall like he'd seen a ghost, which in a sense he had. Can Cole see you? She said. Not yet. His layer is audio. He hears me. Yours is visual. You see me. When you're together, he'll have both. Gracie's expression shifted, something that was learning to be a smile. Conrad was thorough. He planned for siblings. Okay, let's do this right here. Actually, let's see here. You have both, so lines 345 through 347. Cole only has audio because he is having his Dark X experience, but when he comes out of it, Gracie appears to him as well. Emily looked at her. She looked at the glow in her palm, dimming now to the same dark graphite it had always been. She looked at Sami, who was slowly peeling himself off the wall with the expression of a man recalibrating every assumption he'd walked in with. Okay, Emily said. She breathed. Okay. They came up through the hatch into the desert morning. The light hit Emily's face, and she stood there for a moment, blinking. The underground facility behind her and the abandoned drive-in movie theater screen towered up above like a monument to something the world had moved past. Gracie was gone, or not gone, but not visible. She was in Emily's blood, in the nanoparticle network, running quietly the way she had been running quietly for weeks. The difference was that now Emily knew she was there. All right. I'm pushing to get this done in one part. So, here we go. Yeah, the difference was now Emily knew she was there. Sami looked at her across the roof of the car. That was not in the briefing, he said. No, Emily said, I don't think it was in anyone's briefing. He reached into his jacket and produced the comms relay, the device with the single dial and the antenna port. Collective relay routes to a Falcon-class station parked on Saturn's outer approach. 90 minutes for the signal to get there, depending on orbital alignment. And back, another 90, give or take. Emily took the device. She held it with her palm, looked at the antenna, and thought about the 19 minutes of space between the desert in Nevada and Saturn, and a ship she had never been on, with a crew she had never met, and a brother she had not spoken to in the better part of a year. Yeah, they weren't up there that long. 385, better part of a year. Fix timeline. She turned the dial. The relay clicked on. She said, "Cole, it's Emily. I'm at the site. Conrad's research is secure. The collective moved it, but Cole, that something happened down there. Something Conrad built into the figurine, into both of us." She paused. "I saw her. Gracie. She's real. She says you can hear her. She says, when we're together, you'll see her." Okay, again, 392. When they're together, he'll see Gracie. False. Another pause. "I know about Sharon. I know what happened to her. I need to know you're both alive." "I need to know you're both alive? Respond when you can." Okay, so 393 and 394. I know what happened to Sharon. No, you don't. No, she doesn't. I need to know you're both alive. No, you don't. No, she doesn't. Okay. She clicked it off. She held it. "What do we do for 90 minutes? She asked. She said, "I know a place that serves breakfast," Salmi said. They were on their second cup of coffee when the relay clicked. The voice came through the speaker with the hollow distortion of deep space calms, the slight compression, the warmth stripped out by the distance, but it was unmistakably Cole. "What?" Okay. She recognized the cadence of him before she recognized the specific words, the way you recognize a person's walk before you see their face. "Emily," she sat down with the cup. "I know about Sharon." He paused, not the pause of hesitation, the pause of a man who had something he needed to say carefully. "She's here. She came." Oh, Jimmy. Okay, so starting in starting in 406 to 420. 420 did. It hasn't happened. Or been revealed yet. Jiminy Christmas. So I'm just going to skip it because that didn't happen. Emily pressed her thumb against the edge of the cup. The diner around her continued its morning business. Plates, coffee machine, a man at the counter reading a newspaper, the ordinary world conducting itself. "Are you all right?" Cole's voice said. "Emily, are you alive?" She picked up the relay device. "I'm here," she said. "I'm coming home. And Cole, I'm bringing someone with me. You've already met her. You just haven't seen her yet." She clicked it off, and 431. You just haven't seen her yet. Wrong. She clicked it off, set it on the table, and looked at the window at the Nevada morning, the light in the parking lot pavement. On the parking lot pavement. Salmi said nothing. He drank his coffee. Outside, a truck went past on the access road. A sparrow landed on the window ledge and looked in and left. Emily thought about Sharon saying, "I'll be here." She thought about the manufacturing lot and a message that had said she was killed, and the 4 days she'd spent believing it, and what it had done to her, and what it was doing now that it wasn't true. Jiminy Christmas. Manufacturing lot. It's 440. 440. It was a dead industrial lot. And it wasn't 4 days between Sharon dying and Emily finding out about the biohacking. All right. She thought about how much of the last 2 months had been built on a fact that wasn't a fact. How much of the grief, the driving to the gas station north of Victorville, the motel in Barcelona, the 400 miles. She thought, it still counts. Every mile of it still counts. You drove it anyway. She thought Sharon drove herself here too. She kept both of us. That's the kind of person she is. I need to get back west, she said. The collective has a safe transit route. Sami said, no flag, no trace. It'll take a day longer. That's fine, Emily said. I've got time. She picked up the coffee cup. Coffee was still warm. She drank it, looked at the window, and thought about her brother's voice still coming across 90 minutes of space, distorted by distance and still unmistakably him. And she thought about the thing he had said. She kept both of us. He had not known until she'd said it how much she needed to hear that. She set the cup down. She said quietly to the window and to the sparrow and the ordinary morning proceeding around her, I know you did. She realized, going to cry. She was going to cry at a diner in Nevada with Sami eating a breakfast burrito across from her, and she was going to do it without apologizing. She did. Sami handed her a napkin without looking up from his plate. Good mission, he said. Yeah, she said. Her voice was wet. She pressed the napkin to her face, breathed through it. Yeah, it was. Boom. Okay, so there is chapter 19 in the books. Let's see, that was a 38 minute, so that's a little bit on the longer side, but we did it in one part. So kids, like I said, if you want to learn more about the cryptocurrency project that is intertwined with this book, go to agproject.io, connect a wallet that's EVM compatible, like MetaMask. ZKX is my favorite. There's also Internet Money Wallet. And you can actually mint the fuel cells like they do in the book. And there's some wildness going on over there. Also, like I said, check out our Telegram, t.me/anti-gravity saga. And you can get access to this book and art and memes and ask questions. And it's really the place to be. So thanks again. And I will catch you on the next one. Let me find a short outro here. There we go. That's a good one. All right, I'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.